Hello everyone. This video is going to be about an article, a recently published article in the journal Human Arenas. The title of this article is Dialectics of Influence, How Agency Works. And the two authors are Dominik Stefan Mihalits and Jaan Valsiner. I think this article is extremely important. I hope it becomes popular and influential in the works and thinking of contemporary psychologists, because I think it is introducing or reintroducing an approach to psychology in general. So it is I would place it in the general topic of metapsychology, methodology, is introducing a way of thinking about psychology, psychological research, or social sciences more generally. And it is an approach that takes time very seriously. It takes the fact that time and processes that take place in time are irreversible. So by doing that, it is offering an alternative to the style of research based on variables and quantification, finding, using inferential statistics to find relationships between quantifiable variables, and also moves beyond. This approach moves beyond very simplistic models that assume causal mechanisms and mechanical causality, which is also a way of thinking that doesn't take time very seriously and looks at time as if it is reversible, as if you can go back and restart the same process again in the exact same way. So this alternative approach is called dialectical logic. Once we understand dialectical logic, we will immediately realize that development and developmental psychology cannot do without understanding dialectical logic. Similarly, culture and cultural processes are dialectical. So psychology, because it is both developmental, because it is the study of things and tracing things that happen in time and evolve and unfold in time. Psychology is about development and is developmental intrinsically. And because psychology is also cultural, it examines phenomena that are embedded within a cultural context. By being both developmental and cultural, psychology cannot escape being dialectical, cannot help but address phenomenon, processes that are dialectical. So without using dialectical logic, which I'll get to in a bit, I just want to emphasize that without using dialectical logic, psychology would be blind to the target of its investigation, to what it is supposed to investigate. So let me use my own example of something akin to the Marshmallow Experiment, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. If you recall, Marshmallow Experiment involves usually a child who is the subject of the experiment, enters into the laboratory room and is told, the child is instructed that here's a marshmallow, you can either eat it immediately or wait. So our first encounter with the marshmallow experiment gives us two options. Either you eat it now, eat the marshmallow now, or you wait, not eat the marshmallow. So first let's consider this opposition between two choices. And it seems like we have nothing but these two choices and no other concepts except these two choices at first. Eating versus not eating. But as the marshmallow experiment, the marshmallow scenario unfolds in time, we realize that the third item also becomes available, becomes understood to the child. And this is based on the operation of a double negation. So now the child understands that he can eat the marshmallow or he can not eat the marshmallow. But now not eating the marshmallow becomes not eating the marshmallow. So it is going from, now we move from absolutely not eating the marshmallow to just waiting. And waiting to eat the marshmallow in the next 5 or 10 minutes from now. So we move from only having impulsive action or complete inhibition as our only two options to waiting and a deliberate eating of the marshmallow, deliberate action, considered action, which is now something that emerges as the interaction between, as a synthesis of what we had initially. It's a negotiation between eating and not eating. And not eating the marshmallow, as the authors point out, or not, the double negation signifies the birth of dialectical logic. We have a scenario, and there are, within this scenario, within this gestalt, within this whole, and this totality, we have forces that oppose each other, that contradict each other, that there's tension between them, and there's negotiation maybe between them. And through this negotiation, new synthesis will emerge, new concepts will emerge, or concepts are revised, concepts that exist already they are revised and our understanding of them change. Another example that is quite well known and can be described using dialectical logic is the phenomena of cognitive dissonance, which is a move from, again, a relationship between contradictory elements. You have, for example, a person who thinks in a certain way but acts in a different way. And how can this person overcome this conflict or tension between what they are saying and how they're acting? And the synthesis in that situation would be the resolution of the cognitive dissonance, the mismatch between action and perception. The authors, Mihalits and Valsiner, talk about the history of dialectical logic, where it is coming from, who are the people responsible for introducing it in the history of ideas. In German idealism, for example, Fichte, Hegel. They also, very importantly, talk about why dialectical thinking did not gain popularity in social sciences and in psychology specifically. They contrast dialectical logic with the approach that identifies elements and building blocks of psychology, that they call that the elementarist tendency. That's a very useful comparison and contrast, because it is only by identifying gestalts, totalities, that we can identify opposite parts in that gestalt, parts that are in conflict with each other. And it's only by identifying the conflicts or oppositions that we can identify a dialectical process and trace and identify and understand possible ways that this dialectical process can result in synthesis, new synthesis. The main example that the authors work with in this article is about a therapeutic relationship. Freud, in his writing, talks about how when we overcome the ego's defense mechanisms, we help the ego regain and reclaim the lost grounds. So certain parts of the ego that were repressed or alienated from are now regained and reincorporated into the ego. But Valsiner and Mihalits, they argue how this cannot happen. It doesn't fit well within the dialectical logic, because you can't go back in time. You can only go forward. You can go forward in the direction of finding new synthesis, finding new resolutions between the conflicting elements, conflicting parts, conflicting forces within the patient in a therapeutic relationship. Those conflicts can happen within the person who's a patient or client in therapy, or in the relationship between the therapist and the patient. So as I said, it's a good article, important, I think should be studied. If you have any comments, questions, recommended readings, please feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching my videos. If you'd like to support what I do, you can visit my Patreon page. A few people have already joined as my patrons. And to show my gratitude, I have started making exclusive content for my supporters. The first of this includes a series about my own education and my journey in academia. You can access those videos with the minimum level of support. There's also a reading group you can join at the next level. And then the next 2 levels are essentially private study with me if you decide to do that. Anyways, hope you enjoy the content, and I will talk with you soon.